now I would like to invite Mr. Mrigank Mishra, Associate Vice President, Hitachi System Microclinic. Mrigank will be speaking on World IT during COVID-19 and healthcare industries. Over to Mrigank.
Thank you so much, Salvi. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mrigank from Hitachi Systems Microclinic, Hyderabad. Welcome to World IT during COVID-19 Digital Technology Summit. So before I start, I was just thinking sometime back, what would be a good start to the session? And I couldn't find a better message which was most apt at this point in time, a vision by a visionary, none other than our very Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So he had a dream which says, I dream of a digital India where quality healthcare percolates right up to the remotest region, provided by e-healthcare. So if the plan to improve healthcare in a nation is to simply build a few more hospitals, that won't solve the problem. Now, I was wondering, how do we go ahead and look at these new initiatives which we've been talking about? And technology advancements is the need of the hour. Let me, before we get into the presentation, let me share a small story. There was a ship which was sailing in the middle of the sea, and all of a sudden the engine broke down. There were a lot of people on the ship, and the captain called for a person to come and help them rectify that problem. None could. There was this guy who had a toolbox, and captain summoned him, said that, can you look at it? And he went to the engine room, looked at it for a couple of minutes, took out his hammer and gently tapped the engine. And the engine sprung back to life. Well, after a few weeks, the technician sends a bill to the captain with about 10,000 rupees. The captain was amazed to see the bill about 10,000 for a small work, and he asked him to send an itemized bill. The technician sends back saying 1 rupee for hitting and 9,999 rupees to know where to hit. Well, the crux of the story is, with a world full of various technology offerings, how do we identify which is the right technology to go with? And in my presentation today, we will see how we can together arrive at this. But before, let me show you how the digital disruption in healthcare is happening in the world and challenges which are associated with it. Well, we just saw a fantastic presentation by Mr. Prashant Singh from Max, and he spoke about most of these aspects which we are seeing here. The digital healthcare market in 2016 was about $179 billion globally, right? And it is expected to become $536 billion by 2025. Now, what are the things which are really changing, which are changing this particular, or which is looking at this number? It's artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and at the same time, IoT. And we have seen all these things, which is already as a part of the entire healthcare system across the globe. So artificial intelligence is solving problem of misdiagnosis. Now with AI, diagnosis 30 times faster than a standard doctor's evaluation. Algorithms are made, AI-based algorithms which are made to match doctors' medical knowledge to a patient's health record for a faster evaluation. Coming back to augmented reality, surgeons can today enter MRI and CT reports into an AR headset to accurately visualize the anatomy before surgeries can take place. There are multiple IoT devices which are already available, which are being put to use to capture various vitals and communicate quickly with doctors for any kind of preventive actions. Now, all these technologies which are combining to provide advanced technologies to the healthcare always comes with a small challenge, right? However, these challenges are today shaping up significantly because of some of the evil minds. We will look at it. Before that, I just wanted to mention there was a famous dialogue in a movie which I had seen. With great power comes great responsibility. Now, the responsibility is to ensure safety and security of all these new developments in technologies. With the burst of advanced technology, there has been an increase of evil minds which are finding an opportunity to go ahead and disrupt the system. Let us see how. I call it the Achilles heel, right? the security is being the paramount importance today, which needs to be looked at by each and every organizations, the governments, and users to ensure every possible technology being embraced needs to be secure. Now, there's a term, I'm not sure how many of you would be knowing, called as medjacking. The medjacking is basically a practice of hacking a medical device with the intent to harm and threaten a patient. Now, there are multiple such things which hackers are coming up on a daily basis, right? So there's something called juice jacking. Uh, Most of you have traveled to the airports. Now, there are these kiosks which has a charging station, right? A mobile charging station with multiple wires which are hanging out of that. How many of you could imagine the hacker's brain wherein they have implanted small chips in those USB port of the charging wire, and the moment you connect your phone to those wires, the entire data is captured from your mobile. Now, there are various ways that hackers are coming today to look at how they can disrupt this whole advanced technologies, and which is again creating a very big loophole, right? We need to be aware about how we can look at these aspects. How do we go ahead and put respective control measures, respective systems and processes? Let me take back to you certain facts. In 2015, researchers discovered safety flaws in a brand of infusion pump which was used to inject medications directly into the bloodstream of a patient. Now, deadly vulnerabilities were then found in dozens of devices, including X-ray systems, CT scanners, medical refrigerators, and implantable defibrillators. Just to give you an idea, and authorities which were aware of this problem, as evidenced by the revelation of former US Vice President in 2007, Mr. Dick Cheney. He had the wireless function of his heart defibrillator disconnected to protect him from the risk of cyber attacks. Now, that's the extent at which these attacks can significantly destroy or destruct the overall technology adoption. In a shocking 2018 experiment, a pair of security researchers remotely disabled an implantable insulin pump and took control of a pacemaker system, right? So these are things which people are trying to do in order to harm a patient, harm an organization, harm a government, or harm an economy, or harm a country itself, right? We will now look at how, okay, let me just go back a little bit. The IoT devices, we discussed about it. Is there a solution to it? Can we look at, there are multiple IoT devices, there are multiple systems which are capturing data, sending it to respective bodies who are doing a lot of analysis, come back and giving the right report, looking at the right solutions through these devices. Yes, there is a solution. Today, within healthcare, there are people who are using multiple IoT devices back at home, which is capturing all the relevant data and sending it to doctors. So these IoT devices used exclusively at home can be encrypted with a VPN installed directly on the Wi-Fi router of your home. VPN or virtual private network encrypts the entire internet traffic and prevents third parties from accessing the data. Right, so these are some of the solutions which are available. We will, as we progress, we will see what all other aspects of security, at the same time how security and technologies can go hand in hand. Now, the world IT is changing rapidly, impacting these three pillars, and it is evident that organizations and governments are gearing up to meet the demand of enabling virtual platform, contact-free healthcare, and building IT resiliency. Let us look at these individually. Enabling virtual platform, the shift that happened was from physical to virtual, right? The solution that is today we are looking at is enabling virtual workforce, elastic security, seamless users experience. So hospitals have been hard pressed today with the reduction in OPs and other health formats being temporarily shut. This was during the last 2 months. I've been talking to a lot of such healthcare providers, and we realized that the kind of restrictions that had to be mandated for the 2-3 months that happened, these were the certain challenges which came into picture. Now, this change has resulted in hospitals to look at alternate way of working with moving of some of the non-medical functions to work from home, right? Some of our customers are coming and saying that we need to identify how do we look at not just on saving costs, but in order to improve the efficiency, the way hospitals are working. Now, the use of virtual platform has evolved herewith. It is now important for organizations to support the virtual worker with remote networks, end user devices, collaboration tools, and operational support capabilities. Now, organizations are aggressively gearing up to provide right infrastructure to cater a seamless experience for users as if they are working from home, right? Access to applications, access to servers, access to their databases, etc., should reflect real-time experience. Now, advanced security has to be also enabled here. The security has to be elastic. It has to cater to the end user, at the same time not compromising the overall business propositions or business imperatives of an organization. Now, these policies and processes that can quickly adapt to rapid changes in regulations and sudden changes in business dynamics. It is highly important that you need to have a right security practice, a right security. So there are always a must have and good to have. You may not want to go ahead and deploy a very costly solution just to ensure that you are looking at protecting one such vertical. Is that solution going to cater to end with respect to looking at those business imperatives which the hospital wants to do, or for that matter, any organization wants to do? Now, security today, there are multiple guidelines, multiple regulations, compliances, which government has laid down within healthcare or within pharma or within any kind of organization. Now, these rules also have to be met. Depending, again, coming back, there's always a question, how much of these use cases can be identified, sitting across with the right relevant people, looking at what are the key deliverables which is required in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. So that's a strategy that needs to be clearly laid down by organizations in order to have a robust, at the same time, scalable and flexible security policy. Now, contact-free healthcare, we have heard about it in the last 3 days from many of the senior leadership across the India, right? In terms of what digital healthcare services are shifting, right? So telehealth, telemedicine, remote diagnostics, online pharmacy, all these things are now being used much more than what it was being used earlier. For example, it's a global input. Europe's biggest telehealth provider saw a 200% increase in their consultations by just increasing or enhancing or increasing the number of doctors to its network, right? So this is happening. There are a lot of aggregators which are also available who are providing these solutions just by user making a call to the respective doctor, right? So these aggregators have a team of doctors which are sitting across. User can directly call them up, find out, express their entire problem. It can be a virtual, it can be a mobile. Somebody at rural locations where there is connectivity is a challenge, people can look up dialing by a mobile phone, connecting to a doctor, and doctor telling them to share the respective ailments and immediately giving them a certain set of response. So these aggregators are very important in today's scenario, because irrespective of what technologies do, we still have a big question which is on the connectivity, right? As long as the connectivity is not reaching to tier 3, tier 4 towns, we need to look at ensuring that these aggregators are well equipped, not just from a technology perspective, but the entire ecosystem has to come together between healthcare, between these aggregators and players who are going to implement and marry these two functions from a technology standpoint. Very important thing which I was thinking, how would organizations, especially within healthcare, we have seen some of the most devastating impact of this corona in the last 2 months. We were never prepared of it. Nobody had ever thought about it. We can always prepare for a war, but we couldn't have ever envisaged that something like this at this magnitude can happen. And we still don't know how the future holds good. Hence, it becomes extremely important to look at building resiliency in every walk of life, but also at the same time, building a resiliency from an information technology perspective. Now, traditional solutions in the sector previously relied upon on-prem servers to ensure control and security of data. Now, having moved many of these systems online and into the cloud, the industry is dealing with one of the inevitable downsides, which is, again, as we discussed on this, hacking, or for that matter, security. From doctors' offices to medical practices, hospitals to clinics, the healthcare industry has found itself to be a very, very attractive target for online threats such as ransomware. With advancements in cloud technology, including access control, encryption, audit trails, disaster recovery as a service, hospitals and medical centers no longer have to postpone surgeries or treatments when experiencing a downtime. whether due to a breach or a disaster, whether the healthcare industry may be an attractive target with resilient IT infrastructure, systems can be back up and running, not in terms of days, but in terms of minutes, right? All these primary infrastructure can be still intact and functional by deploying these solutions, by ensuring that the right disaster recovery is in place. We all saw about how organizations geared up for the BCP planning when the outbreak happened, right? Before that, there was a limited set of BCP which was planned, but not keeping in mind this kind of a pandemic, not keeping in mind. That was general business BCP which people, organizations were planning. But with this kind of epidemic or this kind of pandemic or unprecedented things, we need to look at what are those areas in order to make your entire IT ecosystem very resilient to such rapid changes. Whether it is sudden upscaling, sudden downscaling, flexible infrastructure on the go, these are the words which are, these are the terms, these are the jargons which will come into existence, and people will have to look at how do we find the right method, right processes, right systems to deploy these technologies. Now, before we go ahead, let me just give you a little bit of more understanding in terms of how do we take care of critical infrastructure, right? From a managed services standpoint, understanding downtime thresholds, how much downtime can we withstand to plan the resiliency, investigating backup systems for various outage, budgeting for the resiliency, and at the same time, so what I'm trying to say is, from an IT resiliency perspective, there are 5 basic points which organization needs to look at. One is you need to identify where your critical systems are. You need to identify how do you're going to protect it, what are the areas which will be importantly required in order to identify those systems, put the right solution, put the right practice into picture, and get the entire inventory visible to the entire IT ecosystem. How much downtime can be managed? So organizations have to define the threshold, right? What is the threshold at which we need to action or which we need to immediately gear up on the disaster recovery, right? So these are some of the pointers which we need to immediately plan and ensure that there are multiple systems which are available, multiple partners, multiple ecosystems that can be designed to ensure all these resiliency can be addressed for upcoming situations. Now, let us look at some of the key things which we've recently seen. The technology always comes with an aspect of defining certain challenges and getting the right solution to address these. Now, we heard about electronic health records, telemedicine, accessibility to various infrastructure, connected devices, right? We have got multiple devices, not just within organization, outside of organization. There's a famous term which is called as what you can't see, you can't secure, right? That's where solutions like network access controls comes into picture, which basically do an end-to-end network segmentation, network identification, network assessment, right? They identify and classify and manage devices. They securely look at adding new medical devices to network. You'll have to have a complete picture in terms of how are you going to ensure that you have an entire repository of these devices, put in the right practices, right policies to ensure these devices are all the time up and running, and you get a right information to take necessary action in case of any breach. Again, accessibility to infrastructure, most critical. There are multiple, the basic concept of disaster recovery is kept in mind while building that is in terms of planning for a disaster, right? Now, how do you ensure that your entire infrastructure, which is being catered to the respective end users, or for that matter to the workforce, is available all the time? You have got multiple, so people are moving from traditional systems to more advanced solutions like virtual desktops, virtual private networks, software defined wide area network. These are all solutions. The erstwhile people used to depend on traditional technologies to access respective servers, respective systems. However, there were multiple applications which people used to access. Now, there was always a single dependency on a particular network to access a particular system or a particular application. With the onset of SD-WAN as a technology, you can now prioritize your business critical applications. You can define the bandwidths which should be catering all the time 24/7 to that business critical application. Even in case if there is a certain downtime that happens, auto failover happens and whatever available bandwidth is there, there's a defined bandwidth for your business critical applications. So these are technologies which will ensure continuity, which will ensure that your DR is very effectively running and your BCP is coming to life. So these are certain solutions which again help you to look at continuous accessibility to your infrastructure. Electronic health records, again, one of the biggest concept. We do know we are reaching to that particular level where EHRs will become a most important aspect. Now, cloud-based EHRs will be the solution, right? Maintaining such large repository of electronic health records within a certain domain or within a certain four walls may not be the right solution, right? It will have, with increased investments, increased practices, increased monitoring, we can look at centralizing this entire database from a cloud infrastructure perspective, right? Again, how do you secure? Traditional security, yes, you have certain solutions which will always enable you to put certain practices as to who's accessing, what kind of data is being accessed, is there any kind of a sudden attack vector which is being done by somebody, you have certain measures to control that particular attack at a network level, right? Deploying solutions like DDoS or deploying solutions like at firewall management, etc., etc. But there is a new technology which is coming up, which is blockchain-based security, right? Now, this particular security not just only looks at having a secured access to your databases or your cloud instances or to your servers. It is also going leaps and bounds, and it is evident, it is real, it is happening today as we speak, is about creating a blockchain-based security towards your identity and access management, right? All this while, people used to log in to their systems through a simple user ID and password. Gone are the days. You will very soon, as early as in next few weeks, you will see how the entire procedure of moving from password-based to passwordless access to your respective systems or applications or servers is going to be a reality. It's all biometric based, multiple levels of security, multiple levels of identification of a user will be put in place before a person is going to access that particular devices. It's going to enable, it's going to ask those relevant questions. You will have it in your handle devices. Your system will recognize you and only you, that you are the authorized person. So you don't have to look at looking at a password based access anymore. Now, how did this come into picture? Why was this whole identity access management from a blockchain security based design? There was a study which was done wherein they have realized that on a study of multiple organizations, that on a password management process for an organization, up to $70 per user per year is being spent just to manage the password systems, right? So there are multiple issues that happens. I face this, a lot of users have faced this. The password gets hacked or the password gets stolen, the password gets wrong, you will have to look at raising requests. So these are all reasons which are combining towards to look at solutions which are going from current traditional to the new norm. I hope the areas discussed till now has allowed you to envisage how technology is shaping up to support our healthcare ecosystem. Now let us understand how information technology enablers like Hitachi systems are gearing up as a catalyst in marrying technology with end user. Before that, can I just have the poll?
Yes. The question here is, which of the following areas in healthcare do you think technology investments should be focused on? The options here are: first, virtual consultations; second, sample collection at home; third, medical ATMs; fourth, drone ambulances. Mrigank, would you like to give us some comment over the question?
Yeah. So see, with the new entire investments in technologies, the way it is happening today, there are multiple solutions from what organizations and healthcare are trying to look at. Is there a single silver bullet which is going to help achieve this? But yes, there are multiple solutions which are again today. Which is the most important? What do you think you and me as a user would immediately want that comfort to ensure that we are staying safe and healthy? So that's basically the idea of looking at seeing responses from the users.
Request the audiences to kindly put in their responses.
Yep. Also very importantly, I was looking at this newspaper cutting, which I put it here. This is about not even about 3-4 days back from a local newspaper. The future is calling, and that's the heading. We have got some senior most doctors from across the industry talking about.
Correct. So we have the responses, Mrigank. So you can probably take this forward. So we have 79% saying virtual consultations, 21 says sample collections, and 0% says to other options. Over
Right.
to you from here.
I think yes. I think we know this is exactly how it is going to be. People are scared. Everyone is scared to go to a hospital today, irrespective of what level of security or compliances or safety has been taken. It's the mindset. We need to cater to the end user. If I'm at that question, I would definitely would look forward for a virtual consultation. And how is technology going to enable that the whole comfort, the whole process is smooth, is user friendly, and it is fast. Thank you so much. Right, moving next. Let me look at yeah. So I was just saying how technology enablers like Hitachi Systems are gearing up as a catalyst in marrying technology with end user. Right. So we live in an era of change, an era of unpredictable challenges with society's issues increasingly complex. More and more people are standing up to combat them. In the same spirit, Hitachi has responded to these challenges with a mission: contribute to the society through the development of superior original technology products by combining technologies like operation technology, advanced ID, and world-class products and services. Right. So this is how we are today delivering social innovation business. You see, we are part of a $120 billion group company, which has got about 803 different subsidiaries. We have one of the most important vertical, which is Hitachi Systems, which caters to the information technology division. Now, IT systems do not function by themselves, right? They need people with knowledge and passion to bring out their full performance potential. We create a new value through unique services that integrate directly, diversely talented people with state-of-the-art technology. Hitachi Systems has created the term human IT to describe what we do today, right? We have put across immense pride, and we take immense pride in the Indian subcontinent to work closely with over 1,000 customers in providing the required length and breadth of IT technologies, right? Now, the USP that we bring in is the combination of multiple offering skill sets within our group company, right? For a joint go-to-market to customer offering customized solutions. So if you see, these are multiple entities that is a part of Hitachi Systems. We have got Hitachi India, Hitachi Systems Microclinic, Hitachi Vantara, Hitachi Solutions, Hitachi Payment Services, and Cumulus Systems, right? So we don't rely only on the certain solutions that we provide on our. We today have a offering wherein we can look at combining our skill sets, our offerings, our technologies, which are the other group companies are providing, to go hand in hand and go and understand and identify and develop customized solutions for our customers. Just look at certain important verticals that Hitachi Systems bring into picture from a solutions and services perspective. We have digital workplace solutions, security solutions, autonomics and orchestration solutions, cloud and data center solutions. Coming back to the services part, we have infrastructure managed services, data center services, managed security services, cloud services, and device as a service. All the four such solutions are today catered to our customers pan India from 21 offices, 180 touch points, and with a workforce of about 2,000 employees. Now, the sheer growth Hitachi Systems has business is within a short span of about 5 years. From a modest 150 crores in 2014, we have grown to about a 1,500 crore company today. This has happened with the trust of our customers and a strong collaboration with the torch bearers of technologies. Just to give you an insight, these are some of our big customers with whom we work on a daily basis. This is exactly the pride that I was talking about, working with some of the large names across India. This is only a snapshot. There are multiple other customers with whom we work. Within healthcare and pharma, we have advanced solutions which we have catered to. I will take you through that as to what all things we have done with them. Again, mentioning, as I mentioned, the relation between the torchbearer of these technologies, we take great pride in mentioning that we are the titanium partner with Dell Technologies. We've been adjudged as the partner of the year 2019. We have got the President's Circle Award for 2018, right? So these are some of the partnerships that has really helped us grow our entire solution offering across various verticals. This is again a map which shows what is our current competency when it comes to Dell Technologies, with whom we have been working with our customers, providing various server-related solutions, storage, hyperconverged infrastructure, end user compute, and etc. Now let us look at some of the key tech solutions we have worked on, which might help you find similarities in your organizations. Right. So from data center consolidation, the requirement was to consolidate multiple data centers. We looked at the challenge, which was a decentralized infrastructure, looked at hyper-converged infrastructure, which came into picture. Apart from that, consolidation of diversified products from different OEMs into a single platform, we created an orchestration layer to build a private cloud. Very importantly, from a next which you see is the VDI solution. There is a legacy architecture, which was always a challenge. Just to give you a use case, there were doctors and nurses who used to capture a lot of information, go and give it to the data entry operator, whether it is towards billing or whether it is towards purchase or supplies or any kind of data which of the particular patient that needs to be fed in. It was all done manually, right? And it was all these things were operated in silos. Now, the centralized architecture was the requirement. So we provided a centralized architecture to provide instant access from any device with faster and reliable response times. So the nurse has had a handheld wherein she used to key in all the data which she was capturing. And by the time she submitted, everything was uploaded to the respective servers, had ubiquitous access to whoever wanted to access that data within, whether it is from billing or purchase, etc. I already touched upon SD-WAN as a technology. This was again something which is here to stay, which is going to, and there's a clear numbers which they say that by 2025, 30% of the global organizations will move to an SD-WAN infrastructure, and that's a very big number, right? So what today SD-WAN as a solution is doing is optimizing the way your traffic moves, the way your entire data travels, optimize priority, bandwidth prioritizing, because this was not there some time back. Again, organizations struggled with the limited connectivity challenges to remote areas, mounting costs on the connectivity. You don't have to necessarily now depend or invest in huge infrastructure to deploy your traditional MPLS solutions. You have a single internet link connected to a box, define the policies, define the user base, define the entire applications which needs respective access, and you're up and running and going. Right. Now, improving performance of critical infrastructure. This was one of the cases that we have worked with a pharma customer along with Dell. The need was compliance, avoiding tape-based backup, critical applications backup, right? So we deployed a server wherein we got the Veeam-based software deployed on top of it, got certain Microsoft licenses, and this helped significantly to reduce the downtime, half the backup window, and reduce complete days which were being used erstwhile for a backup process. Now, we have discussed on various technologies and how they enable organizations to cater to respective requirements, right? It is hence very important to understand how do we arrive at all these data points and other granular details of IT infra to be able to define the solutions correctly. I mentioned in the beginning, right, coming back to my story as to what is that right solution, where do we tap rightly. Now, all these, there are multiple systems, there are multiple infrastructures or applications or end users, etc., endpoints, etc. How do we go ahead and identify? How do we go and get granular details? How do we go and monitor them? How do we ensure that it is visible to us the moment we want, right? Now, that is where we bring in our intellectual property. This is something which we take great pride on which is called the infrastructure managed services. This is a pretty descriptive slide, but it is not possible to cover a managed services portfolio in a small segment. Reason being, it actually goes and integrates in depth with any organization, and hence you need to have all these verticals which you see on your screen, whether it is IT service desk, end user managed services, storage, backup server network, and security managed services. Right now, what we do, we saw the earlier presentation where from a IT roadmap, there were multiple things which were being put across, whether it was BAPT or patch management or software management. We do all this thing on a click of a button from our NOC services. As you can see, whether it is asset management or audit management or fault management, irrespective of what compliances organizations have, there are certain challenges which organizations do throw. We can always go ahead and cater, because we are not looking at any particular data access from anybody. We are only going to do a monitoring. And this is how this has significantly helped organizations to look at moving some of their critical functions and giving them a day-to-day robust reports, very informative reports, taking proactive actions, right? A certain CPU utilization is going high. By the time your engineer walks in, looks at it, and identifies that maybe it's too late. Can we look at a proactive way wherein 24 hours before you can give a report which says, boss, your CPU utilization is looking very high, and there are chances that there might be some downtime that can happen. Now, these granular detailing can be provided today by the help of NOC services, which we provide. I think I have covered most of the things, and there is, of course, there is no end to technology. There is no end to looking at various offerings or various solutions that can be built across. But I would like to go ahead and conclude this presentation and open the floor to questions. But before that, a small thing which I really like, which is the technology, how it is going to shape up and what are the challenges it will bring. So there isn't a silver bullet to all technology solutions, but a smart, informed, end user focused approach. Before I sign off and open the floor again for questions, I will leave you with this video. It's a 1-minute video, but it's going to talk about what technology is doing today.
My dad, I think he had a heart attack. He's not breathing anymore. Joanna.
Good. Joel, we've got your location. The ambulance drone is audited. Remove his top shirt to uncover his torso.
Okay.
Great. Can you go to the nearest exit? The ambulance drone is almost there.
Okay. I'm outside.
I'll be talking through the drone. You can put them. Please pick up the drone and bring it to your father. Great. Okay. Pull the green bit. Now place the pads on your father's chest. Good. I can see that the pads are properly applied. Joanna, please stay clear of your father. We'll take it from here.
So that was it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me. Over to you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Mrigank, for an interesting presentation. And for the audiences, the floor is open for the Q&A. Please feel free to put in your questions. So, Mrigank, we have a few questions for you. You have mentioned managed services as a solution to organization for end-to-end monitoring, management, reporting of IT infra. How would you address the concern where providing third-party access to infrastructure is restricted?
Fantastic. So I was just touching that point. So there are two aspects to it. One is an end user management and one is an enterprise management, right? End user management is where we look at deploying a tool which will help organizations access and identify respective vital details from a particular end user system. Now, these details, we are not going to do it. It is for the organizations to take care of it and identify and take relevant reports out of it. Coming back to the NOC solution, which is NOC-based services, we deploy the solution. We have a lot of our tool, basically collecting a lot of databases. It is collecting a lot of information, snapshots, etc. It is not stored in our data center. It is not stored in any cloud, or it is not stored. It is stored in the customer's data center, in the customer systems. Hence, any compliance or regulations which might come into picture will not actually play a challenge here, because it is all about providing access and providing information and solutions from the respective databases which is collected and stored in the customer's organization itself.
Correct. So the next question is, as you mentioned, there is no silver bullet to secure oneself from such threats. How are you addressing cybersecurity threats in healthcare and pharma?
Okay, so there is, as you rightly said, there's no silver bullet. There are multiple solutions today which are up for grabs when it comes to security. We need, as I mentioned in my presentation, we need to identify which is the right solution. Right from the network level, going up to the server level, or going up to the end user level, which is the most critical function that you need to protect, which is the most vulnerable. It changes from organizations to organizations, right? If there is an organization which heavily depends or heavily allows people to work from home, or remote users, or people who are traveling, there's a separate different security practice to them. If there are organizations which have got employees working from their office where the infrastructure is available, they will have a different policy, because the threat for data going out with the user is not available. So there are multiple solutions. Like, for example, organizations can look at protecting, instead of deploying a simple antivirus solution on an end user laptop, but they can look at protecting the servers by deploying advanced solutions like deep security and etc., to ensure that the server farm is very well protected, irrespective of what other security practices from a traditional network layer or a traditional load balancer, etc., that you server load balancer that you put. But there are solutions which actually go ahead and access and support your servers from a serious zero-day attack or any kind of attack which is not seen. So it depends on organization to organization.
Correct. So with this, we would like to thank you with your presentation. Is there anything else that you would like to close your presentation with some closing notes?
Yeah, thanks, Savi, for that. But yes, very importantly, my humble request is for organizations to look at solutions, again keeping in mind end user, which is most important. There are solutions which are available across players like us who are agnostic to a particular torchbearer of technology. We would be able to come across, sit with you, understand what is the right solution and how do we structure that. Finally, before I sign out, stay safe and stay healthy, and go Corona, Corona go.
Thank you, Mrigank. Thank you for your time.